With San Francisco wrapping up their first day of training camp, we saw Jauan Jennings take the field despite his active negotiations with San Francisco for a new contract, signifying great things for San Francisco to start the year. On top of that, we also saw their second round pick, Alfred Collins, practice for the first time. So in this video, I want to break down those players as well as every single position group on San Francisco's roster, starting out with the quarterbacks. For Purdy, it looked like he was going to start his day hot as he hit George Kittle deep on the first play of the day on the corner route, but then he threw interceptions to Jason Pinnock where he kind of just lost the ball over the middle. And then D. Winters did an excellent job of reading him and then jumping a slant. While you're going to hear a lot about these interceptions, the fact is, it's really overblown hype most of the time. Brock Purdy tries a lot of things he won't in a game situation, and honestly, it's just July without pads on. If he starts throwing these during the preseason and early games, then we can start getting concerned. Now moving into San Francisco's wide receivers, the most important storyline here arguably is Jauan Jennings took the field, looks happy, was dancing around, and made one of the better plays during the team portion of drills. And honestly, it's kind of what you've grown to expect out of Jauan Jennings. Running an in-breaking route, he was able to catch it with defenders all over him. But another wide receiver that really stood out was San Francisco's new addition, Demarcus Robinson. He had a few catches on the day, but more importantly, he continues to create separation, which I think will be vital heading into this year with San Francisco, but he will see action only maybe after the third or fourth game once the NFL decides on his suspension. Which is why I think Jordan Watkins is going to have a real breakout season as a rookie. I mean, early on, he can really do everything for San Francisco, whether it be run short, intermediate, and deep routes, and he continued to show that today. Speaking about young players, it's also worth noting Ricky Pearsall was on the field today and was running around breaking hard, so he should be back pretty soon for San Francisco, which once again is a great sign for their wide receiver group entering this year. With all those positives being mentioned about San Francisco's wide receiver room, the real negative came after practice when it was revealed Jacob Cowing pulled his hamstring. Now moving into San Francisco's tight end group, probably the best play for this group was George Kittle's first play of practice, catching that corner out from Brock Purdy, which really sparked the offense. While this tight end connection is always vital for an NFL offense, early on for San Francisco, it may be more important with players like Demarcus Robinson and Brandon Ayuk out, so George Kittle could have another breakout year like he did last year. I'm expecting at least 1,000 yards receiving. It'll also be interesting to see how San Francisco uses Luke Farrell, as he can be used as more like their blocking tight end, and that allows George Kittle to go out more on routes. Maybe they'll pull out more two tight end sets early on in the season. The final skill position I want to talk about on San Francisco's offensive side of the ball is the running back position, with Christian McCaffrey practicing today and looking excellent coming in and out of his breaks, so he should be healthy to start the season. Alongside that, Jordan James continues to look like an asset in the passing game. Not only are his routes crisp, he has solid hands and explodes once he does catch it. But maybe the best part about James though is yet to be seen, as I think he's best once pads come on, as he's a true bruiser type of back in the similar way Jordan Mason was. And the same can be said about Corey Kiner, because every single time someone tries to bring him down, seemingly he bounces off of that tackle, so I'm really excited about him as well. Now jumping into the offensive line, while there was no pads on today, there was a lot of interesting information to be gleaned. First, the starting left guard for the offense today was Nick Zakelj, and he really excels at his pass blocking, but his run blocking was questionable last year to say the least. It's also worth noting Trent Williams did practice today, so that's a good sign for San Francisco's left tackle spot, and then eventually Spencer Burford also got reps there. Probably the play that stood out the most for San Francisco's offensive line today though was when Dominic Puni was just straight up beat by Mykel Williams. And while Williams didn't have pads on, I do think this signifies great things for San Francisco's defensive line heading into this year, because Puni is an all-pro guard in my opinion. Speaking about Mykel Williams, we're going to go ahead and move over to the defensive side of the ball. Moving over to the trenches on that side, he looked impressive today. Not only did he play defensive end, on pass rush downs, he slid over to defensive tackle spot and whooped up on Puni. And honestly, it's exactly what San Francisco was envisioning out of him. He's not only an excellent edge setter, he looks like he could be excellent rushing from the inside and potentially outside during his NFL career. I expect him to have a breakout year and potentially be the defensive rookie of the year. In a similar way with Alfred Collins, I think it's a great sign for San Francisco that he was actually on the field today. He's just a straight up behemoth of a man, and I expect him to be a real run stuffer once pads come on. I mean, he can just eat up space. The other rookie defensive tackle I'm really excited for is CJ West. He truly reminds me of a player like DJ Jones. He's built like a bowling ball, has extremely violent hands, and a really nice first step. He could have a lot of success as a rookie, especially as like a rotational piece. It's also worth noting before moving on, Yetur Gross-Matos was placed on the physically unable to perform list. Now moving into San Francisco's linebacker group, probably the biggest surprise today was seeing Luke Gifford take the field next to Fred Warner to start. But the best linebacker on the field arguably was D. Winters. Last year, he earned a PFF grade in coverage of 80, which was 6th among all linebackers in the NFL. And this year, arguably, he looks better in coverage. Today in coverage, for instance, he did a great job of reading Brock Purdy's eyes, jumping a slant, and then picking off, running it all the way back for a touchdown. He should have a breakout year this year. It's also worth noting that Nick Martin should also be in competition for San Francisco's starting linebacker job, and really, this competition should be decided once pads come on, because clearly this offseason, Robert Saleh's emphasis isn't necessarily stopping the pass, but making sure his defense first and foremost can stop the run. And if D. Winters can't improve in that aspect, you could see San Francisco decide to go Nick Martin or Luke Gifford on run-heavy downs, then transition to D. Winters on pass-heavy downs. But personally, I think D. Winters will improve heavily this year. I mean, he's only 24, has 3 years of NFL experience under his belt, and looked pretty solid last year in my opinion. Now jumping into San Francisco's secondary, the two unquestioned starters here are obviously Renardo Green and Deommodore Lenoir, but a big question I have is who's going to start at the slot. Will it be Trey Brown or the rookie Upton Stout? Personally, I think Upton Stout has a lot more potential. He does a great job of trailing wide receivers, can stay in their hip pocket, and when you turn on his film, you see a player that loves to tackle in a similar way Quan Williams used to for San Francisco. Outside of the slot cornerback competition, there's also the competition who's going to start next to Malik Mustafa once he returns, as well as maybe Jair Brown to start the season. And the player really pushing for that job is Jason Pinnock. He's only a couple of years removed from being one of the better safeties across the National Football League, and he's still so young, coming in at 26 years of age. And so far for San Francisco, all he has done is make plays. Today, for instance, he picked off Brock Purdy as we were talking about earlier, and he can do everything Robert Saleh loves out of a safety. He's a former corner, for instance, so you can literally line him up on a wide receiver and he can shut him down. So entering this year, I expect the 26-year-old safety to grab onto the starting job and never look back. I don't think Jair Brown's going to replace him or Malik Mustafa. I think either of those players are just going to slide in next to him. With that being said, now we need to talk about the kicker competition going on between Greg Joseph and Jake Moody. This offseason, Jake Moody changed his kicking approach, going from a 3-step approach to a 2-step approach, and today he went 8 for 8, but that was the same as Greg Joseph, so they still remain neck and neck in this competition. And where I think Jake Moody really struggles the most is in clutch situations, so I don't know how you really test for that in practice. But these are just some of my thoughts about San Francisco wrapping up their first day of training camp practice, and I want to hear your thoughts down below if you were there, what really stood out to you, and it would also mean a ton if you could like and subscribe. And as always, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.